This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring College Football Hall of Fame head coach Phillip Fulmer. In this episode, Coach Fulmer reflects on his legendary career at the University of Tennessee, discusses why it is important to embrace change, and shares advice for young coaches attending the AFCA Convention. But first, a word from our sponsors.
XA Score is built for sports teams to redesign their best. We're fostering genuine connection by helping coaches to be in tune with their student athletes while also providing clarity to those student athletes on where they truly stand. Your program will immediately benefit from automated and scored attendance tracking system that drives discipline, a daily wellness and readiness data collection system with insights, a daily body weight capture, tracking, analytics, and scoring towards goals while driving pure accountability towards a player-led program. So let me know when you want to get started, and together we'll immediately impact your program.
Winning starts with CoachCom, in practice or on the sideline. With more than 30 years of unrivaled excellence in coaching headsets, CoachCom is the proven leader and system of choice of 97% of FBS teams in thousands of high school and small college programs across the country. CoachCom's powerful lineup of headset systems start with Cobalt Plus, an affordable, reliable system that provides more fully featured users and flexibility than other systems. The system provides exceptional audio to hear clearly in loud environments and now features player communications for communicating between coaches and players for greater practice efficiency and gives players real-time on-field instruction. With its proven powerful performance, X System delivers critical communication to teams who demand the best and also provides advanced features so coaches can effectively and clearly communicate on the sideline, across the field, and in the press box, even in the toughest playing environments. CoachCom is excited to announce the new X Player coach-to-player communications that seamlessly integrate to the X System. Whether it's changing the play at the line, assisting and adjusting players on the field, or continuing to coach players right up to the snap of the ball, the new X Player is set to revolutionize the way coaches and players think about communication. For more information, visit CoachCom at booth number 730 at the 2022 convention or on the website at www.coachcom.com. That's www.coachcom.com. Allstate is proud to recognize Matt Wells as the honorary head coach of the 2021 Allstate AFCA Good Works team. Coach Wells earned this recognition through continued leadership in his community and commitment to giving back. Coach Wells embodies what it means to be an Allstate AFCA Good Works team member by going the extra mile to help those in need.
Hello, this is Todd Berry, Executive Director of the American Football Coaches Association. And I know many of you are disappointed today because you're used to seeing Coach Mario Price on here, but I want to take this opportunity because we have a special guest today, and a gentleman that I used to work with back in 1983, actually, at the University of Tennessee. And so I'd like to welcome at this point in time Coach Phillip Fulmer. Coach, how are you?
Todd, I'm good, and it's good to see you doing so well. Thanks for all that you're doing for AFCA.
Well, I appreciate it. We both, I know you well. That's part of, again, the reason why I wanted to get on this. And I know that you have a passion for coaches and for the coaching and for the profession as a whole. And so I wanted to be able to bring out a few of those things with you. And I think one of the really, I mentioned earlier that we worked together back in 1983. Okay, since 1983, I was at 15 different institutions. You've been at one, and quite honestly, many times I moved because someone wanted me to move. Other times I moved because it was my choice. But you were at one institution basically this whole time, and I'm very envious of that because of just your ability to be able to, not to be distracted by any other jobs or any of those other kinds of things. And could you talk a little bit about because I know it's deep, your love affair with the University of Tennessee?
Yeah, you're right. I've been really blessed. When Vicki and I married in, 81, I told her to plan to move a number of times, just the way the coaching profession is, and trying to prepare because she hadn't been around it a lot. And we've been very blessed to be able to stay at the University of Tennessee. love affair, I guess, that started when I came here as a player. Had a chance to be a captain my senior year, one of the captains of the team. Still, probably the greatest honor I've ever had in my opinion, regardless of anything that happened in coaching. When your peers, trust you and believe in you, that's a great thing. We had a lot of success as a team. Had two coaches that were very influential, Doug Dickey and Bill Battle. Both of them great men and leaders, and like most coaches, probably followed what was a good experience in Little League and high school and all those things. So I just love being on a team, being around athletics, being around athletic people. And then Coach Battle asked me to help out. He said, "Hey, I think you might be decent as a coach. You ought to try this thing." And I was searching, like everybody, thought I'd be a pro football player or something, and then realized about my sophomore year, hey, I better get my degree. This is a little different than I thought. And was a graduate assistant, did that thing, started my career at Wichita State, and then a year at Vanderbilt, and then back at Tennessee, which is very unusual at 29 years old to be the offensive line coach. And Vicki and I got married. We had beautiful children, and we just said, you know what, this is a great community to live in and a great place. And if we can, we're going to stay here. That meant passing on opportunities a couple different times that were, at least on paper, a better opportunity, whether it be a couple of pro jobs and certainly a couple of other assistant jobs. And then, had a chance to be the head coach, and the same kind of thing. We built something pretty special here for a long period of time, 16 years, which is a long time to be a head coach. But it was more about the community. It was more about having a staff that was very loyal. We all stayed together for a long time, minimal movement. And, we won a lot of games. So all those things together made you feel pretty good about staying at a great place like Tennessee.
It is a fantastic place. My wife and I both loved our year there in Knoxville. And, even though you haven't changed significantly in jobs, you've seen college football change dramatically over that time frame. Obviously won the national championship, BCS national championship back in the BCS days. And certainly what we're seeing right now is the courts, the state legislatures, even the federal legislatures getting involved in a lot of things that have to do with football. The NCAA right now is kind of questioning what their mandate is and what their governance structure is going to be moving forward. So our coaches right now are going through a lot of significant changes. But you saw a lot of changes during that time frame also over those 2 decades at the University of Tennessee. Can you talk about maybe give our coaches that are listening right now a kind of a feel for how you handled change, that embracing change?
Yeah, Todd, I don't know that we experienced anything like what you're going through right now. And, the leadership, you guys, your board, the coaches that really love college football are going to have to really pay attention to, getting this right. I don't think that it's going to change. The cat's kind of out of the bag, but controlling it the best you can is going to be very important. But yeah, change is part of life. You don't always want it to be that way. I've seen it, go from unlimited scholarships to 40 a year, and then the cap of 85, and all those were management things. I went through the BCS thing, which was prior to that was the Alliance, which we got screwed on a deal there pretty bad, with a great football team. Us and Ohio State were like number 2 and 3 or something like that at the end of the year. And we, didn't get a chance to go to a big bowl game or play for the national championship. Weird deal. But all the recruiting calendar changes, all those things that come up with the rules and those kind of things, you manage through them and try to keep the player in mind, your family and your coaches and everything, but what's good for the player. And right now, as much as I don't like where we're headed in some ways with the NIL stuff and all the transferring business, you know, our Congress or our Supreme Court has voted, and it's there. And so you can sit around and fuss about it all the time, but it's not going to matter. It's changed. So how can we best manage this that it's good for everybody, going forward? And we just went through a year that nobody's ever been through in college sports with COVID, and managing through that, all the places around the country and all the people that, were in a leadership kind of role had to sacrifice and had to bring their teams together to make it through. And it looks like we have. And college football, you watch every Saturday, it's healthy. It's just not what we all remember it being in all the places.
No, that's correct. And that embracing change, I know that you kind of brought that up a couple times in terms of trying to navigate your way through that. And I think one of the unique positions that you've held is obviously being an athletic director too. And I think every athletic director thinks he can be a football coach, or the ones that I've been around. And I think every football coach thinks that he could be an athletic director. And I think it's just kind of a really, you've had two unique responsibilities there at the University of Tennessee. Maybe just one item from each that would say, what do football coaches need to know about the difficulties of the athletic director job, and vice versa? What do athletic directors need to know about the difficulties of being a football coach?
Well, there's so many, we could talk about that for like days, but the truth of it is communication is so important. Being on the same page. I absolutely saw it at its best with Joe Johnson as the president, and our board was, very supportive. And then Coach Dickey as the athletic director. Coach Dickey had been my coach all those years earlier, and now then was the AD. We were on the same page. We trusted each other. We communicated about the tough things that we needed to, and then later in my career, the president changed, the AD changed, and all of a sudden that communication and feeling for each other, kind of broke down. So that, that led to lots of problems. And when I became the athletic director, the principles that I had remembered, the good times as a coach, the communication, the trust, the warmth, and the intensity, that it takes to be a coach is the same thing as an athletic director and a group of people in a department trying to pull all that together was challenging. And, I think we did a good job of doing that, getting the athletic department communicating with campus communicating with athletic department, sharing goals, being involved in the community, having a presence of hey, we're all on the same team here. Let's pull this together, and then you have success. If you don't do that, it's just a matter of time that it's not going to work.
Right. What in 2003, you were the AFCA president, and I knew that meant a lot to you. I was on the board of trustees at that point in time, but maybe could you talk to all of our young coaches out there that maybe aspire to to get involved in the AFCA to kind of further their profession, but also further their career. Can you talk a little bit about what it meant to you to become the AFCA president back in 2003?
Yeah, I almost think you have to go back a lot further than that, actually. I decided to get into coaching. I was struggling with what to do with my life, as a young person. And I heard Bo Schembechler at a convention. It was supposed to be talking about the slant and angle defense, and about halfway through it, he got off on what I had experienced. And that's how, as coaches, we're responsible for young people and their growth, and basically from adolescence to manhood, and the difference a coach can make. And I was on the edge of my seat by the time he finished and made my decision. That's what I wanted to do. And fast forward, you get on the committees, you do those things that you can for the AFCA, but looking at who all was on the board, in front of me as the coaches, that I admired, the Schembechlers, the Darrell Royal, the coaches, Paul Dietzel, those people, hey, I decided I wanted to be on that board, never really thinking I'd be the president. You get on the board, you get involved, you're doing those things that you think are good for the AFCA and for the coaches, and then you have a chance to be you see your name up there close to being the president. And it was one of the biggest thrills that I've ever had. I mean, just working with Grant Taft, then the AFCA director, and Miles Brand was the NCAA president, and he was the first academia guy, not a coach, that had been the head of the NCAA, and that had its own interesting challenges. And sitting in meetings with Grant Taft and myself and Miles, who was a great guy, but different thoughts about where we were headed, and he changed the academic side of coaching, but I think it was all work together kind of thing, because we had some commonality. We both were fly fishermen. We both, love sports, and we had a good relationship. And that's not always the case sometimes, but if you can, if you desire to be involved, and I would encourage the young coaches to get involved in the committees and have that goal to be on the board and do those things like that. If you get a chance to make a difference, because I think, kind of unsaid, out there, I think we really made a difference in college athletics during that year as president, because we all worked together.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's so significant that we all, as coaches, get engaged in our profession. San Antonio this year, convention, centennial celebration, the 100th year of the AFCA. And very, very excited about that. And I have always, as a head coach, especially with my younger coaches, I tried to give them some advice going into the convention. Here's some things that you really need to do to really understand kind of what our profession's about and how to learn and some of those kind of things. So talking to all of our young coaches out there at this point in time, many that have maybe made a few conventions, some that this might be their first, what would be the advice you would give them in relation to coming to the convention this year and trying to get the most out of it?
Well, I remember our first, I mentioned Schembeckler, that was in Chicago. That might be the coldest place I've ever been in my life at that time, sure was. But you just got to come. You got to attend. And obviously it's a big deal to network and get around people that you know or people that you don't know but want to know, to get ahead in the profession. But also, the clinic time and all the meetings and those kind of things are really, really important for your growth, as a young coach. And you get a chance to, socialize, so much, and that in itself, leads to knowing more people and enlarging your network. And you might just get an X and O thing along the way that makes a difference, or a leadership thing that along the way that makes a difference as you establish your attitudes toward what you want to look like one day as a position coach or a coordinator or a head coach or maybe an AD one day. It all goes together. Get involved in the community. One thing that the AFCA has done that I really appreciate is I got involved from a tragedy, from a young man committing suicide, who was his dad was a great friend of mine. We started a thing called the Jason Foundation. Young man's name was Jason. He took his life, and AFCA took up that banner and helped us. And now we're in every state in the union and got a hotline for young people to call if they have those kinds of thoughts, or to educate and teach administrators or teachers or counselors and even students how to recognize the signs of depression. So it goes way beyond just the X and O part of it, or just the fellowship part of the clinic and convention. Just get there and decide what's important to you, and where do you want to go, but have a purpose about it.
Well, Coach Fulmer, very much appreciate your time. And publicly, I want to thank you for what you did for me as a young football coach and how you impacted me in my career. And certainly cherish our relationship over these years. And you're one of the best. We appreciate you being on with us today.
I admire you and all that you've done, too. We were glad to have you as a young coach, and it was great to see all that you accomplished. And thanks for what you're doing for the AFCA.
Well, best wishes, and then we'll see you in San Antonio at the convention.
See you in San Antonio, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset. If you heard anything on this episode that you would like to learn more information about, head over to afcapodcast.com, where you can find every episode and all of the corresponding show notes. While you're there, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please let us know by sending an email to podcast@afca.com. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Inside the Headset and tag it when you share each episode. You can stay up to date with all things AFCA by following the @WeAreAFCA Twitter account. Every episode of Inside the Headset can also be found on your favorite audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you are not currently a member of the AFCA, be sure to find us online at afca.com and apply to join over 10,000 NFL, college, and high school coaches from around the country who are striving to be the best they can be. With an AFCA membership, you gain invaluable access to the annual AFCA Convention, the bi-monthly magazine, and the new and improved digital library, which contains thousands of videos and articles contributed by hundreds of current and former football coaches. You can also visit afcainsider.com to sign up for our free weekly email newsletter on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes out every Tuesday at lunch and is filled with great articles and stories written by many of the same coaches you hear on the podcast. It's geared to help you become a better coach tomorrow than you are today. Be sure to connect with me on Twitter at Coach Mario Price, and remember, the AFCA is not just an annual convention. It is an association that continually promotes education, guidance, and networking. But it is also so much more than that. The AFCA is about celebrating the past and educating the future. It is about developing great coaches who will produce great teams and even better people. So invest in your skill set and impact today by engaging with the AFCA.